Prison, you're cheap labor again. You're a modern-day slave.
And if you look at the overall population versus the prison population, those numbers is a high index. And of course, yes, some of these brothers need to be locked up. I understand that, but not everybody.
Think about Malcolm X, man. Malcolm was a hustler. He used to sell drugs and take drugs. He did a 7-year bid in prison, but did he stop there? Nah. What saved his life? Reading.
But the change isn't gonna come through speakers. It's not gonna come through a TV screen. It has to come from you. It has to come out of you. All our work is meaningless if you don't stand up and take action.
Hold it right there. If you didn't drop out, hang in there. If you did drop out, or if you did some time, figure out a way to get back in school and get your high school diploma.
It's simple. Education is the one way to counteract all this prison stuff, you know, to educate folks. Because how they end up in prison in the first place? Because we have a lack of education in the communities that we come from.
I'm so sorry, but with a police record...
When I was at Howard University, I didn't have money. I didn't start stealing. Just went out there and I started hitting the pavement to get a job. You know, I used to be a doorman at like a Hotel Marriott. I used to pump gas and wash windows. I used to clean toilets in this Mexican restaurant. I wasn't having to ask for nothing, and I was making my way out of nowhere.
I think I got something for you. Come on.
Your destiny is up to you.
You can't be a boss unless you start from the bottom.
Today I wake up inspired to take over the world, but I want to take over that store. I walk to the store and I start to sweep the front of the store. I sweep the front of the store every day, and the owner keeps looking out and thinking his store is the cleanest store. He eventually comes out and pays you, and one day he brings you inside. Now you're in the store. You're doing the work. He gives you a little more than he gave you from cleaning the store, and the next thing you know, you're the manager of the store. Kevin Lyles, he was a store sweeper, you understand? He was a free intern who worked so hard for the company. So Kevin Lyles became the chairman.
That's my story from intern to president. So I took the presidency of Def Jam in '98, ran the company until 2004, and then I left to be part of the Warner Music Group.
It's not a lot, but it's a job.
You cannot get rich if you don't get an education. And somehow, one group in America has been sold the biggest lie of all time, that you can get rich without an education.
Difference today between somebody who doesn't graduate from high school and somebody that actually goes to college, the earnings over a lifetime are well over $1 million.
If you're a young brother thinking about dropping out of high school, what's next? Your options are limited because if you didn't complete the course, how you gonna come work for me? How I know you gonna complete the job?
You will not be hopeless if you continue on with your education. And we're not just talking about schooling, because school teaches you skills. Education teaches you what to do with those skills.
You can come back later for the final one. Computers are over there if you'd like to use them.
Thank you.
Okay.
Check out brothers like you, who made their way out of no way, like the 3 doctors.
The situation I went through with the whole robbery thing and changed my life, and it made me realize how close I came to pretty much spending the rest of my life in prison. Because had I not been 17 and a half when it happened, had I been 18, I would have been an adult. And the whole story would be written differently. But when I got out and I came home, I told my boys from my hood that I was going to college. They was like, get out of here, man. Nobody from Dayton Street go to college.
Me, yours truly. Public elementary school, wasn't a great school. Public middle school, wasn't that good either. Public high school, wasn't that good. Nobody from my high school had ever gone to an Ivy League school. Ivy League, that's the oldest, best, most prestigious universities in this country. Way back in the day, they didn't even let black folks in. And most folks said, you can't go from this school to Ivy League. But someone told me I could, and you know what? I did.
You gotta read. You gotta find books. You gotta find authors that speak to you.
A lot of things you don't understand is somewhere in a book waiting for you to discover it.
Read Malcolm X's autobiography.
The autobiography of Malcolm X as told to Alex Haley.
Invisible Man 1984.
James Baldwin. Fire Next Time.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
For overall business, there's the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. For movies, there's Variety. For music, there's Billboard.
I was one of those cats that like made my A's and B's and hid my report card because, you know, it wasn't cool to be doing well in school.
Young, bright African-American kids who speak correct English are ridiculed for acting white.
My parents, you know, were tough on me on like, no, enunciate, get this right. No, it's said this way, not that way.
They may try to say, you selling out, or you know, what you're doing is a corny thing.
It's not corny to be educated. Come on, you know what I mean? When did it become okay for us to say it's corny to have an education?
Usually the guys that are putting the most pressure on you are the dudes that don't have the confidence. They're kind of insecure about things.
If they don't pay your bills and if they can't whip your ass, you really shouldn't care what they say.
I want you to take a piece of paper and I want you to write down where you want to be in your life. The next 2 years, next 4 years, the next 6 years. Someone will come up to you and they'll say, hey, let's go hang out. All you have to do is look at that piece of paper. Is what he's asking me to do matching where I want to go? If it doesn't, say no.
With success comes a lot of sacrifice. That means less hanging out on the corner, less smoking blunts, less drinking them 40s, less partying.
Work ethic. Be on time. If I'm supposed to shoot a movie at 6 o'clock, I get there at 5 o'clock.
Don't look for the shortcuts, you know, put in the time, you know, and do the work. And have pride in what you do.
You being able to switch your game up when you go for an interview, put on a suit.
But also, don't be afraid to learn from somebody that is of a different color than you.
Learn Spanish, learn French, learn all that you can. The more you learn, the more powerful you are.
I don't consider myself the funniest guy around or whatever, but I get so much more opportunities than certain people just because people know I'll show up.
Now that you're starting to get your real education, the same things you saw before are gonna have a whole different meaning.
You grow by reading, by traveling, by understanding there's stuff bigger than the platinum pendant around your neck or the wheel spinning on your ride.
Or the size of that platinum Rolex you got. Who we giving the money to? How many people you know own a diamond mine? Are you Mr. Rolex? Do you own a watch company? Come on, where's that money going? Right out the window.
A lot of y'all can't really sing. I call it hobby rapping. But how about this? You can own the record company you rap for.
We got to jump from just playing basketball to owning the team.
When Magic hung up the ball, Magic went into business. Starbucks, movie theaters, real estate development.
One game doesn't get it done.
The problem in America is there's a line 10 blocks long for every job that's out there. We are competing against people who are prepared to work very hard for very little money.
And what worries me, if you choose to be lazy today, then you're choosing to have a miserable life tomorrow.
With the proliferation of all these reality shows, which I think has done a tremendous, tremendous harm to the work ethic of young America. Because these young people see these shows and they think that hand the guys that come down and anoint you as the next one, and you're gonna be overnight sensation. Big lie.
Stop standing on street corners and dying on street corners. Street corners that don't know your name.
We have to stop selling crack out the crack house, and we gotta start buying the crack house, rehabbing the crack house, and reselling the crack house for a profit, because that's where the money's at.
So the more you try to go forward in your life, the more you're gonna wanna put yourself around other people trying to go forward. positive people.